A talking magpie, a 77-year-old pregnant woman, and reading a 20-year-old woman's diary, but from the 19th century. These are the three books I read last week. Let's talk about them. Welcome to Novel Beginnings. The first book I'll talk about is Axeman's Carnival by Chidgey. This book came to my attention when I watched one of my favorite YouTubers, Louise Savage, talk about this. I think it was a couple of years ago. And when my library had it, I was like, yeah, I want to read this. This is a book that we are reading and we are kind of seeing the world through the eyes of a magpie whose name is Tama, short form of Tamagotchi. When Tama was a young chick, he fell from the nest, and Marnie, who is a sheep farmer's and Axeman's wife, she brings him to her house and nurses him and nurtures him and treats him, and then sets him back into the wild. But Tama kind of loved Marnie, and he liked what comfort and the care that Marnie showered on him. And he flew back to her and became a pet. We are seeing the human world through the eyes of a bird. And what we are getting is a very unfiltered version of our life, of humanity, of how we function, of our domestic life, of our financial crisis. We are also seeing relationships. We are also seeing domestic abuse. Tama is like a fly on the wall. He is like a silent observer of everything happening around. And because he has no preconceived notions or ideas, we are getting a very unfiltered version of everything. This book explores and comments on a whole lot of things. It talks about the male gaze. It talks about sibling rivalry. It talks about body shaming. It talks about toxic masculinity. And above everything else, it is also about how we humans are ready to commodify and capitalize on anything that we can lay our hands on. In this case, when Tama becomes popular because he can talk, he's picked up on the English language, and he can communicate like the humans, because Koravides are very, very intelligent beings, and magpies, and Tama is one. You see how he attracts the world's attention, and how Marnie and her husband, they kind of, not because they want to, but because they are told by people around them that, hey, you're sitting on this whole pile of cash because Tama has become so popular. Why don't you capitalize on that? And this is another part of the story that it unfolds. I was completely mesmerized by such a unique take of seeing us, our human world, our lives through this lens. And it is so uncensored that at times I was feeling a little bit, you feel naked because you are getting this version without any censorship or any embellishments. It is so raw. Chidgey's prose is lustrous. I was absolutely enraptured by it. It is poetic. Some of my beautiful phrases and sentences are, first of all, when Tama sees a mirror, he goes, "I see another bird. He's behaving just like me. Who is this another bird in Marnie's house?" And then you realize he's actually seeing a mirror. One of my favorites, I think it is about how Tama is trying to reminisce when his mother explained to him how the sunrise and sunset happens. And I think it has got derivations from the Aboriginal scripts and scriptures. And it is some of the most beautiful lines and passages I have read. I was completely enamored by that. It is a beautiful book, and like I said, that it has some hard-hitting moments, especially when you have partners domestic abuse, and you are seeing that nobody else is witnessing it except for Tama, and Tama picks up on that. I absolutely loved this book, and I gave this book 5 stars. There is some sprinkling of a chuckle-worthy humor that our author kind of gives us, those little moments of levity, and it gives the reading experience is elevated much more. I truly, truly loved this book. The next book I want to talk about is Enormous Wings by Laurie Frankel. The first line of the blurb is a 77-year-old woman is pregnant and in Texas. You are hooked. And the author takes this opportunity to get your attention and hold your attention. And she does that by showing us a mirror. And what she's showing in that is a commentary on our society. She is talking about morality, primarily talking about a woman's agency over her body, her autonomy, and and how she kind of showcases that everybody seems to have a say, from her children to her ex-husband to her neighbors to the residents of the center to society at large to the government to the doctors. Everybody seems to have a say. Everybody seems to be sitting down with a gavel and passing a judgment. It is like a societal flagellation of a woman and her decision, and it is a hard hitting way of looking at it. So we are meeting Pepper Mills, and she is, like I said, 77 years of age. And after a fender bender, her 3 children decide that, Mom, you have to move to a senior facility so that it is very near to our homes. We can come and visit you. And it so happens that our ex-husband also lives there. And one of the lines that really stayed with me is that when we are reading it from Pepper's perspective. She says that as a parent, you will do everything for the convenience of your children, because that's what you do since the time they take birth. I think it kind of sets the whole tone of the book. Pepper is a retired English teacher, and she has very astute observations, and she is very sharp in her observations. Once she moves in the senior facility, she befriends a gentleman, and she likes him. There is a very quiet conversation going around in this book of mortality. Because it is in a senior living center, it is talking about illnesses and sickness and death. We also kind of see Pepper's past that has a huge hand at her becoming pregnant at 77. And the book explores that, and it kind of gets into a bit of a detail. But at the same time, what I really felt that Laurie Frankel was what she brought into the book is that it is not the end. As Pepper walks into the center, she kind of has this feeling that this is the beginning of the end, but the author kind of highlights it through her experiences, through the camaraderie, to the friendships she forms, that this is just another chapter. This facility signifies or is actually a harbinger of an unexpected beginning, and what an unexpected beginning it is. I like that this book ended on a very hopeful note. It is not preachy, but it does get very political at certain points in the book. It's not trying to give us a lesson. It is not trying to give us sermons. And that is, again, a very important part of the book. You will have your blood boiling at certain parts. But I like that she was able to walk that line without having very sanctimonious in her messages in the book. She was able to kind of deliver that messaging that, there is hope. There is hope because we are humans. We have to plead to the humanity, the goodness of humanity. I really like that messaging. I think, like I said, it was a heavy book because the themes it covers, sickness, death, health, illnesses, but how it ends is how it draws out the positive out of it, that it is of a new beginning. I think it makes this book a very unique book. I gave this book 4 stars. After having read 2 very heavy books, I wanted to read something a little lighter. And I kind of got drawn into this whole fanfare of the journals of M.I.M. Lyon, and I read the first book. I think after having read The Correspondent, we are all kind of yearning for that tactile feel of letters or journal entries. At least I am. So that kind of already got me on board, or reading about journals and journal entries of Emma M. Lyon. And of course, it is about Emma, who is 20 years of age when we are reading this book, and it is set in the 19th century, I think 1852, if I'm not mistaken. And it is a very thin book. I think it's about 100 pages or 132 pages. And through those journal entries, you're kind of seeing her, who she is. We see her past. We see what's going to happen in the future. We kind of see her plans. We see the people in her life. And to be able to do that, to be able to draw that out in this version, in this format of a book, is something that it'll never cease to amaze me. And I really had a good time. Now, I will say that it took me almost 50% of the book to kind of get invested in my character's story. Up until 50%, everything was just, there were names being thrown at, we were having situations, we were having some little sporadic episodes in her life. I wasn't able to build something very, very concrete out of it, but after, I think, 50% mark, there were some significant things that happened, and that kind of starts tying all those episodes together and all those events together, and we start getting a better picture, like a jigsaw puzzle, if you will. We had these puzzle pieces sort of scattered all around, and it kind of starts taking a picture and forming and giving us, I wouldn't say a whole picture yet, because there are 8 of them, and I think more are supposed to come around. But yes, you kind of start developing a little bit of a framework. I mean, I know 132 pages and 8 pages and 7 more books to go, but I really liked my character, Emma. What I truly enjoyed while I was reading this book is that it is set at a time when women's rights were non-existent. What I liked about this is that Emma is not a revolutionary, like kind of holding up placards and going on protests or, giving big speeches. She's trying to break the glass ceiling in her own way. She is, with her own grit, with her own determination. And in an era when women are completely dismissed, she is making a dent. She is making herself heard. She is making herself seen with her ideas, with her strength. And so far what I have seen, it's very admirable. And I am cheering for her. I am rooting for her. And I wish the best for her. Emma is not trying to fit in to the expectations that society has set out for her. She is carving her own niche. And I am like, you go, Emma. I had a lovely time reading this book, and I gave this book 4 stars. I have started reading the second book, and let's see what happens in that one. I truly had a lovely time reading these 3 books. Yes, the first 2 had a very heavier note, but I think when I came out of them, I had a different kind of perspective. I had a different vision, and I had a lovely time. And I'm so glad that I have jumped on the Emma M. Lyon Journals bandwagon, because I'm having a lovely time. I'm reading my second book, like I said, and I think I'm halfway through it. I'm truly enjoying it. And now that I discussed these 3 books, I feel that there is a common thread that all these 3 books have shared, and that is about women. It is about women in society. It is about expectations society has from women, and what happens when we are pushed to the edge, and how we are able to fight it, how we are able to fight it quietly or defiantly. And I truly love that. I didn't pick up these books thinking that this is going to be a common theme, but I think that's the beauty of reading, that you read different books from different countries, from different authors, and it still speaks to the same human experience, and that is what makes reading so beautiful and so wonderful. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video as much as I have enjoyed bringing it to you. Thank you so much for watching.